Wild and Free Art. In today's video, I am going to show you how to make a little ATC holder. As some of you might know, I have an ATC club in my Facebook group. It's free to join, and basically every month we have a theme and we swap an ATC with a partner from anywhere around the world. And what's beautiful is that you get these little tiny minuscule pieces of art, and they're really gorgeous, and I do enjoy displaying them like on a string. But after a while, you know, you have others and you have run out of space. So I thought, how can I keep them and store them so that I can still enjoy looking through them? So after watching various tutorials, I kind of combined a bunch of stuff together, and I came up with these two ATC card holders. So this one is smaller and this one is a bit bigger. I'm not sure which one I prefer. This one's a 4x5 piece, and I think this one was 3x4, if I'm not, yeah, 3x4. So it's up to you which size you want to make them. I used basically my ATCs as a sizing thing. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyways, the point is, I think they look really nice, and then you can put them on the shelf. They're like a little book, and when you want, you just take it out and you can flip through it. So the outside is fairly straightforward. And oops, that's upside down. I have to still put a label on this one. And the inside is basically a book, and you make these little pockets that you can tuck in your ATCs and then look through them. You can see, you know, who's written what where and when it was done, and you can easily, you know, pull them out to have a look at them and then just slide them back in. Getting there, there we go. And there you have it. So this one's got a little bit of space left for a couple. This is the one that I show you how to make in the video. And this one here was my prototype. So it's the one I made first. And I might swap some cards around because this one's a bit bigger, so it would fit better in that one there. But basically it's the same thing, just a bit smaller. And yeah, it's not as full because I haven't managed to fill it up yet, but the idea is there. So I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you'd like to join the group, we still have plenty of space. I have the link, I'll put it below in the comments, and I'm hoping to welcome you all in. The tools that you're going to need in order to make this are some book pages or scrapbook paper or any other paper that you want to use, a knife and scissors or a guillotine or cutting board, a straight edge, and some cardstock. Now for the sample one, I just used regular cardstock that I happened to have on hand. But in the other smaller version that I showed before, I just used cereal boxes, and I glued 2 cereal boxes together to make them sturdier. So the first step that I did, and this is completely optional, this was just me being weird and me being me, I just trimmed the edges of the book pages just to make them all more or less the same size. Obviously, totally optional, and quite frankly, it's not necessary to do so, but that is what I decided to do. The next step after getting the papers ready is to trim them to the right size to make the pockets. Also, if you have a scoreboard, it would be handy to use it, or else use a ruler and a scoring tool. What I've done is I've cut the pages to 13 centimeters wide. The length doesn't really matter because you will be trimming it anyway. The next step is to fold your paper in half, and then you're going to want to score it at 3 centimeters from each side. So 3 centimeters in from the right and 3 centimeters in from the left. So I think in this case I did it at 10 and 3 centimeters. Once you've scored, just fold the sides over. Make sure that they're nice and straight and nice and crisp when you fold them. I made sure that they lined up with the bottom because it is possible that sometimes, because you're using two different layers, that the score line would move a little bit. So it's just extra safety to make sure that they line up with the bottom. Once you've finished pressing and creasing, your next step is to double check that your cards actually fit. In this case, I was all right. So what I did now to reduce the bulk is just to trim off a little triangle from each side at the bottom of your folded piece of paper. This will help the edges fold in better and reduce the bulk once you've glued everything together. So now I have decided which side is going to be my front, which side is going to be my back, and folded one set of the tabs over, double checking as I go with the ATC. I'm going to cut away the tabs that are not needed. So either the top ones or the bottom tabs, depending on how you want your pocket to look or be facing upright and so forth. Once the tabs are done, you can take an ATC card as a rough idea for the measurement on the height of your pocket. Here I just decided to use the ATC card just to start with. You can obviously cut them shorter or higher depending on how you want your book and how much of your card you want to actually see. Alternatively, you can skip this step and just go straight to the cutting of the viewer section and then just trim it down after you've done that. So the next step is going to be to actually make the piece where you slide the card in so you can see what card you have inside your little pocket. So what you're going to want to do is to create basically a flat V shape. Now here I've marked it about a couple centimeters up, and that's the base part, so the part where I want it to be poking out, where I want to stop the paper. And I'm going to cut this kind of weird V shape. If you fold it in half, you get a more even cut to it on both sides. So yeah, you just basically cut down diagonally and then snip a flat piece across. And you have your pocket. So good thing to do at this point, especially if it's your first one, is to check that you can see enough of the ATC card that makes you happy. If you need to make it shorter, higher, it depends on your own personal preference. Once you're happy with how your little viewing port thing looks, it's time to glue the tabs together and create the actual pocket itself. So here I just use a glue stick.
and a scrap piece of paper left over from cutting to glue it together. Just put in quite a bit of glue. Don't worry, plenty of glue is good. That way it stays together. And you're just going to glue those inside tabs and fold them over and press well to seal. Once it's all glued, it's best to just run your hand in there and make sure that everything doesn't get stuck together. Then at this point, I decided to measure again to see if I was happy with how the card looked. And at this point, personally, I decided that I wanted to round the corners of the tips. I didn't like the super pointy V shape. So I got my corner rounder and I basically just gave it a little haircut so that it was the way I wanted it. This step is totally 100% optional. Make it however you like. Honestly, this is just personal preference at this point. Again, with personal preference, I decided that I wanted to ink the sides of the little pocket for myself. You don't have to. This is again another fully optional step. And that is your first pocket done. Now all you have to do is make the other pockets. Again, here you can choose to make as many as you want. You will be adjusting the spine width to the width of the pockets that you have. So to the width of the number of pockets that you have. So it's basically up to you. I think I might have made 10 in this sample. Maybe actually 12. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember. But I did that. So here I'm just going to make another pocket for you. I'm just going to make this go a bit quicker so that you can just watch it from beginning to end again, and we will be back once all the pockets are made. Once all your pockets are made, the next step is to make the accordion that we are going to use to actually glue the pockets onto and place it inside the book. So here again, you can use another piece of book page, you can use scrap paper, whatever you like that you want to use that fits whatever theme that you want to do. Here I've chosen a piece of book page again, just to keep it simple. My first step was to measure the height, roughly, of my pocket so that I could cut the strips of the accordion to the right thickness. And you'll see that I will be adjusting it further on in the video. So the amount of paper that you're going to need for the strips will depend, of course, on the number of pockets that you have made. In this case, I'm using 2 strips of paper that I glue together because I think I made quite a few pockets and it wasn't enough to do the just the one. So to make the accordion fold is really pretty easy. The first thing you're going to do is fold your paper, your strip, in half, open it up, then take one part of it and fold it up to the middle crease. And then you're going to repeat basically the same thing. You're going to take it again, fold it to the crease above it. And then here is where things go a little bit different. Once you fold it up, you're then going to fold that piece up to the crease above it. And you're going to basically repeat the process one more time. This, of course, depends on how thick you want your accordion. If you want, you could have stopped right there. I wanted it a bit thinner. So I've made it so that the accordion folds are basically around 1 centimeter, I think, wide in this case. So you're going to basically repeat the same process until you reach the middle again. Then you're going to flip it over and you're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side of the paper strip. Once you've finished making your folds, just go back in and make sure that all your folds are alternating mountain and valley folds. You want to make it so that you have the two end pieces that are the same. So in my case, I wanted two end pieces that were valley folds, and then the others were mountain folds that I pushed together. You're going to be using those valley folds to glue it into the spine of your book. So here I was just counting the number of tabs, and in each little tab, you're going to be gluing in a pocket like so. So that pocket will be glued in between the two mountain folds in the valley fold and glued on both sides. So that will count as one tab and one pocket. And then of course I'm just going to trim the top there sticking out just so it all is the same same size. If you notice at this point, when I laid my accordion out, it popped up. So one of the things that we have to do in order to stop that from happening is to basically glue the tabs together and create a strong, and it also creates a stronger tab. So what I've done is I've just flipped it over and glued what was the mountain fold and is now the valley together to make a tab. And I've done that with every single one and always double checked that it worked that way. So you're going to repeat that for the whole strip, but you still have to make sure that you end up with the two flat bits at the end so that you can then glue it into your book. Once I was done, I checked that everything was solid together and separated so that nothing got glued together, and made sure that it was all pretty straight. I then counted, realized I needed to add another strip, and so you're going to see me make another strip in exactly the same way and then attach it to the previous one to make one larger strip. Obviously, if you're not going to make a huge ATC book, you can skip this second step and go right on to the other step, which is to make the cover. But if you are going to make a little chunkier one like I did, then in this case, just watch this. I'm going to speed it up a little bit again, just because it is quite repetitive. Once I was done, I took both of my accordions and checked the sizes just to make sure that it would all flow like one single ribbon together, and I realized there was a slight size difference, so I just simply trimmed off the excess on the other side. Once it's all trimmed to size, now it's time to glue the two strips together. Again, when you're doing this, it might be different for you. In my case, I glued on the valley fold of one and attached the the other valley fold of the other one to create a valley fold. And then I kept going with my accordion. Again, remember that you want to make sure that you have those two valley fold or tabs at the end of the accordion. So maybe give it a test run first before you glue it all together, just to make sure that it is all ends up in the right way. You can always just cut off a little piece if it's too long or whatever, depending on how many you need. After that, you're going to start doing the same thing you did for the other half, which is gluing together the mountain folds to strengthen and make those little tabs that you'll add your pockets to. Here I snipped off the last piece of my accordion because that way I was able to have my two tabs, which is what I needed in order for it to get stuck in the book, as I've said before. So just checking that everything is working out, and then after that you can set this aside and start working on the cover. It's now time to make the cover for the little book. So this is where you get your cardstock or your cereal box, whatever it is that you want to use, and you're going to cut it to size. Now in this case, for this one, I cut it 4 by 5 to make a larger book. But in the other sample, I think it was 3 by 4. So it's up to you to decide whichever size you prefer. So you're going to want to cut 2 pieces that are the same size, and then another piece that is the right size for your spine. I have my little helper here who is making sure I'm doing the job properly. So here I was just checking to see if the piece that I cut off would be sufficient for my spine, but I decided to use another piece that was off cut instead because I didn't feel like it was wide enough for the spine. So here I'm just measuring, making sure that the spine will fit and that the little accordion is in the right spot. The next step is to choose some cover paper that you want to use, and you're basically going to put that on as per normal. So here I'm just using some wallpaper sample offcuts as my cover, and you're basically going to want to cover the book as you do normally. So one thing I didn't do in the sample that I forgot a step was to actually use tape to reinforce the spine. So in this case, I put the tape on the inside after I had put the cover paper on the outside of the cover. Ideally, what you want to do actually is do that, wrap it all around the spine before you start gluing things on. I only remembered afterwards and had to kind of adjust the strategy. But yeah, learn from my mistake and do it before. Once you've got the outside part of your cover sorted, it's time to do the inside. Here again, I'm just double checking that my accordion fits and that everything is in the right place, because this is where things differ from making a regular book, let's say. So you're going to, of course, check the height of your ATCs so that you know where you're supposed to position it. You don't want everything sticking out too much. You want to make sure that it fits properly. Then the next step is to choose two pieces, to choose some papers for your end paper, which you will be adding on after you actually glue on the accordion. So here I have chosen my scrapbook paper that I want to use as my end paper, and I am cutting it down to size, rounding off the corners, and of course giving it a little bit of a finish by inking the sides. And I've also cut a small piece to use to cover the spine area, to add just a bit more strength and to make it look a little bit prettier. I used double-sided tape to attach the spine cover piece to the book just to make things a little bit faster and easier. The next step is to create your closure. So what I decided to use in this case was some of my eco-dyed ribbon that I have made from an old bed sheet. So I've just measured out the length that I want to use of the ribbon to to close the book, and I'm just going to glue it into the two sides at more or less the same height before I put the end papers on. While I leave that to dry, it is time to add the pockets finally to the accordion fold. So here it's again super simple. What you're going to do is just glue the pocket onto one end of the fold and then glue the other piece onto the top part of the pocket. So super easy. And then you're going to repeat that step for all of your pockets. Once everything is glued on, I took a moment to just trim the bits that that were sticking out, and to double check that I had indeed actually glued the pockets to all of the folds. I did catch one where I skipped a spot. Then after that, it's time to finally add the pockets to your book. So again, I decided to use double-sided tape here just to make it a little bit faster. And I've added double-sided tape on the two tabs, made sure I've positioned it in the spot that I wanted, and just press it in on the spine. After double checking everything was all flippable and not stuck together, it's time to add the end papers. Again, just to make things faster here, I went and used double-sided tape. I went all the way around it and pressed the end papers in. In this case, make sure that when you put your end papers in, you go over the edge of the tab, because this is adding an additional level of security to your accordion holder so that it doesn't pop out of your book. And that's it. Your book is done. You can, of course, decorate the front cover however you like. You have your ribbon tied to keep it closed when it's full. The only thing left to do is to fill it up with all of your beautiful ATCs and enjoy flipping through them. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that this will give you an idea or an inspiration to organize your little artist trading cards into something that you'll enjoy to flip through for years to come. If you did enjoy this, I would really love it if you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really means so much to me, and I do love reading all of your comments. I read every single one, and I do absolutely love engaging with this community. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy creating, everybody. Bye-bye.